My name is Nick B, and let's get into this week's futures overview. Starting with the Forex economic calendar. Monday, core durable goods. Okay. Tuesday, consumer confidence is the red label news at 10 a.m. Wednesday, we have FOMC member Waller, crude oil inventories, FOMC member Bostick. Nothing crazy. Maybe the crude oil inventories will give us a little bit of shakiness, but mm, doubt it. Thursday, preliminary GDP and unemployment claims at 8:30 a.m. Friday, we have core PCE price index, and that's about it. That's about all she wrote. So it's going to be a calm but an interesting way to end this month off. The big catalyst that I think is coming up is going to be those NVIDIA earnings. I believe they are on Thursday, 10 minutes, no, 20 minutes after the bell. So we'll see. But jumping into futures, I guess let's start with ES. I like ES a lot more. Um, let's go over kind of what happened after this squeeze, right? Because we're starting to hit a little bit of a floor where we're above the last pivot level, and pivot level I'm referring to the first lower high of 5,600 on ES. As long as we can hold that, that's going to give us room to the second one at 5,630, which we are above 5,630. I'm looking at the wick of this candle of 5,660, and really, I mean, we're right here. We're right at the all-time highs here already on ES. And when we take a look at NQ, you'll see we're slightly lagging behind, but that's not a concern for NQ. We'll catch up. So the main thing with ES that I've been noticing also is specifically on the daily, my 20-day from last week has been tightening and tightening and tightening. So right now it's at 55.25, and I would say that is your absolute baseline support, 55.20. 5,500 if we get a break of that, or really 54.90. I believe it's this level right here where we had a contract rollover. We held up there for about 3 weeks, made new all-time highs, and finally kind of broke below that level. If we get below 55.20, look for a break of 54.90, and that's going to lead us down to definitely 54.30, I would say, down to 5400. That's extreme. I don't quite foresee that, but anything is possible, right? So that's one scenario we can look at in terms of downside. In terms of upside, it's a little better than that. We're above 5,600. As long as ES manages to stay above 5,600, we can look for breakouts or dips that could be good buying opportunities. And we're going to have to break this down to the smaller time frame. So let's go on over to the 4 hour. Let's take a look. So the 4 hour, we're propped up right on the 20-day EMA as support. And right away, from what I see to the naked eye, if I want to take a look at what's happening now, you're really faced with two scenarios here. And that's either we get a breakdown of 55.80, and that's going to start to spill down to 55.60, coming down towards 55.35, and then your 20-day daily EMA is your support. As long as we hold above 55.20, 55.25, we should be able to recoup. Then again, the second scenario is we get above these session highs of 56.65. And what's perfect about 56.65 is that lower high 1, lower high 2, lower high 3. It's perfectly aligned to that level. So you get a break of 56.65, you're going long, and you're really targeting 5,700. Above 5,700, 5720. Above 5720, I mean, the next area in price that the chart is showing me is 5750. And I understand ES likes to move in 20-point increments, so we can look at 5740, but really you're looking at 5750. Above that, 5760, 5780, all the way to 5800. I think 6,000 S&P this year is very doable. We're right there. We're right on the cusp of it. The fact that in the last 2-3 weeks we've basically recovered the entire correction that we've kind of started off back in August, back in the beginning of August. I mean, that's history right there. That's wonderful. So that's what we're looking at. ES up and down. Pretty kind of straightforward. I don't need to break this down to the 1 hour or the 15 minute. We can to look for intraday opportunities, but that's something for the signals guys. I mean, we're not really going to be too itchy to execute anything in between here for now. Let's get to Monday. Let's see how overnight treats us into Sunday open, and we'll go from there. So pretty straightforward. Above 56.65, you're going long, and then below 55.82, you will be exposed to the possibility of seeing 55.25. Possibly. Again, that daily close is going to be essential. With all of last week's data, also, you could see it didn't quite make a dent on direction. So we're figuring it out here. Perfect. All right, moving on to NQ. Same thing. Let's pull this up. What do I have it on? Oh, the 3-year daily. Okay, let me fix that. We don't even need to go that far. Okay. Okay, so our 20-day EMA is at 19,382. Okay, similar scenario to ES. We are tightening and tightening and tightening with the 20-day EMA on the daily. Now it's basically at 19,400. If the daily candle decides to close below 19,400, the possibility of us coming down to 19,000, I would say 19,001, becomes very real, but I won't look at that too much just yet. It's something we're going to need to break down to the smaller time frames. But what I can tell you is we definitely are very close to the next breakout point. We got above 19,720. 19,720 showed us its resilience, especially on Friday, how well it held up. Right, so that's the first lower high, and then that second lower high that we've been talking about for the last 2-3 weeks, 20,100. The moment we get above that, that's going to confirm that you have that continuation to head back up here. But really, I think the key, and I keep looking at this wick here at 20,200, I think that's what's going to put price over the top, and we're going to get that push to 20,500. I say 20,100, if anything, would be on par with the breakout of 56.65 on ES. Okay, so we have lower high number one and lower high number two. Fine. Let's take a closer look at what we can target in terms of downside and upside, because we've identified that the line in the sand support is at 19,400. Okay, but what's happening now? We'll take a look at that on the 4-hour. Oops. Okay. We're going to do the same thing like we did with ES, which is underline the floor that we're in between. I would start from here. I think it was suspiciously odd that we came down to this higher low here on Friday and bounced right off of it. And then we have our highs over here at 20,030. It was right, 20,030, and then let's see, 20,000. Excuse me, 19,534 was that floor support. Okay, so that gives me a really good idea that if we get below 19,530, or let's round that number off to 19,500, we will see 19,004. That's a setup in itself right there. And then again, if that daily candle closes below 19,004, you will see the test of these higher lows, possibly coming up to, yeah, as I figured, 19,100 would be that first target to the downside. In terms of upside, really get me back above 20,025, 20,030. I believe that was the session high. Get us above there. You can set the stop to 20,000 easily, no questions asked, and you're targeting 20,100, 20,090, but really 20,100. Once we get above 20,100, you have a straight shot to, well, 20,170, and I'm pretty sure psychologically 20,200 is going to play an important role for us. So let's underline the breakout levels again. It's going to be 20,030, 20,100, and the last leg before it really takes off is going to be 20,170. Okay, in terms of downside, we cover that. Everything here in between, I'm sorry, it's just a guessing game. We can take a look at it on the intraday. We can look at it, as far as the 5 minute or the 1 minute B moths, and it seems like it's held up. I made a pretty crazy call on Thursday into overnight, where I just had this dirty feeling that we should go long at 19630, 19650. We entered the signal, and shame we got stopped out before the fireworks really went, but that told me a lot about what's in store for price action, the confidence in terms of buy side, and what is plausible and what isn't. When we break this down also a little bit more on the 5 minute, you zoom in, you could see this was lower high 1, lower high 2, lower high 3, lower high 4, I would put it at this wick, and then your last stop is 2025. So the fact that we are above the second lower high from the downside, which is 19,740. You guys remember that was a very essential level for us last week. As long as we can remain above 19,740 and you're a savage, you can swing it to the next point of 19,830, get you above 19,830. You're going for these session highs of 19,900, and then what will put price ultimately over the top to continue to 20,025. You're going to go long at 19,930. 19,930. Yep, that confirms it. You could set that stop 30 points and you have a lovely 100 points to the upside until the true breakout of 2025. Wonderful. So what I'm going to do for now, let me bring this up on the 1 hour again. I'm going to set two alerts. I'm just going to do top side, downside alerts, and that's going to be at 20,000 flat. And then the downside alert is I would put it at 19.6. I really doubt we see that level, but anything is possible because if I see that we're breaking below 19.6, the assumption, and it's not always good to assume, but in this case, on an intraday breakdown, the assumption is you're going to go for the lows of last week, which is at 540, 530. Once that breaks, you can set that stop, pretty tight and begin to target 19,400. The first higher low is going to be at 19,440, 445, but you're really looking at 19,400 as the 20-day EMA. Before we leave this off, let me check. The VIX is muted. I loved seeing the VIX back below 16 last week. That definitely gave us a bit of a confidence boost. We went for the oh no level at 18. 18 is the prerequisite to oh no. Had the VIX closed above 18 and we might have gone to 20, it would have been shaky because that means there's still some sell side, maybe some some puts are getting juiced, and we might see again more downside, but we kind of chilled out here. Last but not least, the one that I think is really going to take off, especially with this rate cut decision that's coming up, is going to be the Russell. That is definitely the name. I mean, it already took off. You had a beautiful buying opportunity at 2000, at 2100, 2140, 2170. It is now above 2200. As long as we can stay above 2200, I mean, you're really going to be going for a 2280. Above 2280, you have the green light to go for 2320. Above 2320, this is where we have to expand the image just a little bit. And you're going to look at the lower high, the third lower high, the last leg to get to the 2021 all-time highs is at 2290. So definitely when we're getting above 23, what's the high here? 2320 it was. I mean, you have a straight shot to go for the psychological level of 2400, and above 2400, you're assuming that you will see 2460. Let me see. There, I saw a hiccup right here. What is this level here? 23. 1 second. I need to zoom in a bit. Okay, so above 2320, really what's going to get you over the top, I say, is 2345. Get you above 2345, you're going to come back up towards 2375. 2400 is really that target. And again, above 2400, I mean, you have no real resistance. I mean, 2425, but 2460 is going to be that target. And this is one of those names that's just going to go silently. With that said, that's all we're looking at for the week. Let's have a solid trading week ahead, and let's end August off on a good note. Have a great trading week ahead, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.